In today's lecture, we will cover three concepts, that is interfaces, polymorphism, and multithreading. So to begin with, can anyone tell me what do you mean by abstract class, or what do you remember about abstract class? Yes, do you know what is abstract class? We have seen it in last to last lecture. It is a class whose object we cannot create. In this particular abstract class, it will be called as abstract class only if it has at least one abstract method, and it can have the normal other methods also which are not abstract. So it can have abstract as well as not abstract methods. And you cannot create an object of this class, but you can create a reference. And there is overriding concept used here, means if a particular method is only declared by making it abstract inside the base class, then whichever class is derived from that abstract base class, whichever class is derived from that abstract base class, that class should implement that abstract method of the base class. And suppose it doesn't want to implement it, you have to make that derived class also as abstract class. And so you can follow the chain of inheritance and you can go up to the descendants. Is it correct, whatever I've said till now? Yes.
Yes.
Now, interface is similar to abstract class, but there's a small difference that if it is an interface, it is similar to an abstract class, but inside your interface, you can only have the methods which are abstract. Means you cannot have the methods which are not abstract. All the methods must be abstract. And with the evolution and by upgrading the programming language and all that, there are certain features where some methods which are default can be defined and which are private can be defined. That we'll see when we come to the example. But for now, you remember that all the methods which are inside an interface are abstract methods. So in these abstract methods inside the abstract class, do I define abstract methods or do I define it in the child class? Can you tell me? An interface are syntactically similar to classes, but they lack instance variables. Instance variables means you cannot actually create an object of an interface, but you can create a reference of the interface. Means if I show you directly how to write an interface, how to define an interface, you have to first write interface keyword, write your interface, okay, and then the name of the interface. Suppose I1 is the name of my interface. Now, inside this interface, can I have my normal non-abstract methods, yes or no? You cannot have the normal abstract methods. You can have the abstract methods, you cannot have the normal methods. If it is an abstract method, should I define it inside my interface here, or should I define it inside the child of this interface? Can you tell me? Once an interface is defined, it can have multiple classes which are derived from the interface. For example, if this is my interface over here, I have written it inside my program, then This will act as a parent, this interface. And from this interface, I can have multiple classes. For example, class C1, class C2, and all these classes can be derived from the interface. Did you understand? Interface will act as a parent or a base class, and number of classes can be derived from that interface. Did you understand?
Yes.
Yes. Now, to implement an interface, a class must create the complete set of methods defined inside the interface. Means whatever abstract methods are there inside my interface, they must be implemented or defined inside the derived classes. Now, interface will also help you to implement polymorphism, and how we will see. Now, always remember one point. Okay, so for example, how you define an interface, I'll show you an example directly. Okay, so see here, as I said, first of all, write the interface keyword, and then the name of the interface is my interface over here. And inside this, I said that you can only have the abstract methods, right? But here we know that if the method is abstract, you should have an abstract keyword over here before the void disp. This is a method, it is abstract, so here you should have abstract keyword. Am I right? Yes.
Yes.
So in this case, in case of interface only, it is not required for you to write abstract. Means by default, whichever method you mention over here, automatically it will be treated as abstract. So when the Java compiler is understanding the program, it will understand that, it will assume that it will itself make sure that this is an abstract method. That means you can assume that the compiler itself will write here abstract. The compiler itself will write abstract here if this is an interface. Okay, that is why you can see this is in gray color, because when I write it, it is not necessary for me to write it. Okay, and remember one more thing, that your abstract methods have to always be public. Public means these methods should be accessible outside this interface also. Outside this interface also they should be accessible. That is why it is public. But you can see that public keyword also I have not written over here. That is because the compiler again automatically itself will insert this public keyword over here. So all the methods inside my interface are abstract public by default automatically. This is for the methods. Similar one condition is there for the variables or the data members of this interface. All these variables over here that I define, they will always be final, they will be static, and they will be public. Okay, so methods will always be abstract and public, and you can also say non-static. Non-static means your normal methods. If it is not static, then we don't write anything here. But if it is static, what do we write? We write static keyword. But since this is an interface, all the variables are compulsorily public, static, final. So these three keywords, no need to write for the programmer. The compiler will automatically put it over there. Similarly, for the method, no need to write abstract public, compiler will automatically put it over there. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if this method is abstract, I need to define it in the child. So remember that whenever you're creating a child of an interface, that child is can be another interface or it can be a class. Now suppose the child of an interface is a class. That class has to be derived from this my interface. So if one class is, suppose you have a class A over here and you create another class B. If you want to say that class B is a child of class A, what should I write over here for class B? What should I write here?
Extend.
Extend or extends?
Extend.
It is S with S, extends. There's a difference between extend and extends. Extend, if you write, it is already highlighting an error because it is not a keyword. Extends, the plural form is a keyword. Okay, so don't think that if I miss an S, it is okay. It is makes a lot of difference. And extends what? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. What should I write?
A.
Yes. Okay. Similarly, if you have a class which is the child of an interface, for example, here you have interface A. That time extends you will not write. You have to use the keyword implements. This is also in the plural form. Implements S. Okay, so this is the difference. When you're inheriting from a class, it is extends, and when you're inheriting from an interface, it is implements. Okay, now, so this is another class called as inter. You can call your class anything. It is called as inter over here, and it implements interface. Means inter is the child of my interface, which is the parent. So in this class, I'm going to define the abstract method. Which is the abstract method in the interface? Can you name that method? Which is that method? Which is the abstract method in the interface?
Diff.
Yes. So I have to define it in the child. Now, you may be thinking there is no public over here. But I said that the compiler will automatically insert public over there. And when you're implementing the parents method in the child, means the common method between parent and child, that time it should be overriding. So in overriding, everything of the header, the definition, the prototype, the header means this part, prototype also means this part, signature that you call sometimes, it should be same. Or will the changes be allowed? If you're doing overriding, that time changes are allowed, or it should be exactly same?
Same.
Same. Okay, so that is why you have to mention public here, because this is a class, and inside the class automatically public will not come. You have to specify it. So if I remove this public, you can see an error has popped up over here. It is saying that the privilege levels is mismatching. Okay, privilege level means that only your access specifier, whether it is public, private, and some new faces are joining the meeting. Okay, anyways, so you must write public over here, then the error will go. Now I told you that here which three keywords come for the variable automatically. Do you remember? Just now I had written three keywords over here. Do you remember any of them?
Public, static, and final.
Exactly, very good. Okay, public, static, and final. What is the meaning of final? If I say A is final, can I change the value of A later on? Is it allowed?
No.
No.
No. Okay, so if I attempt to do that, I should get an error, and I am getting it. It is saying cannot assign to final variable A. So I cannot change the value. Now tell me, if inter class is a child of my interface, then if I try to print out the value of A from the child, what will be the value of A over here? By this output statement, what will be the value of A? Yes,
4.
4. Okay, 4 will get printed. You know that. Now, there are three ways to create objects if you are dealing with interface and class together. Means parent is interface, child is class. The three ways are, one way is we know that object cannot be created for interface, cannot be created for abstract class. Object can be created only for the normal classes. So here the normal class name is inter. So using inter, you can create the object inter obj equal to new inter, and using obj, you can access all the methods which are inside the class as well as all the methods which are in the interface. All the methods in the interface means the abstract methods, because we cannot have the non-abstract methods in the interface. So whichever method is in the interface, that is disp, you have defined it in the class inter, and using the object of the class inter, you can call the disp method. Is this clear up till now?
Yes.
Now another way is you can create a reference of the interface. Reference of the interface means left hand side you will write my interface, the object of the interface. Now if you write only this much, no problem, because it is referencing. But the actual object that is being created is from the class, because on the right hand side I've written new inter brackets. That means on the right hand side, whichever name is there, class is over here, this is the name of a class. So the object of this inter class will be created, but that object will be referred to using using the my interface. Okay, what I said is object creation will be from the class, but you are going to refer to that using the interface name. Okay, that is the meaning of this, which I've already explained in the previous session also. So using this obj1 now, you can access the disp method. When you access it, it will print the value of a as 4. Now another option is you can create, suppose multiple objects, you can create all the objects using the class only, means left side inter, right side inter. You are creating objects like obj4, obj5 and all that. Now if you want to access these objects, see, suppose you want to access obj4, after some time you want to access obj5. So each time you are going to change the name of the object, and then you're going to write the object name dot disp. So to get rid of this, what you will do, you will create a reference of the interface, means what, my interface obj2. Okay, and then after writing this much, that is the left hand side, okay, means this is the thing, I'm only writing the left hand side, means this much, and this much is same, only the name of the object is different. This and this is same, only the object name is changed from obj1 to obj2. And then on the in future, obj2 equal to obj4. What is obj4? It is an object of the inter class, that is of the child class. Okay, so this is also possible, means what, you're going to use the reference of the interface, and using that reference you are going to access the objects of the child class. So using obj2 now, and you're writing equal to obj4. So obj2 and obj4 are referring to the same object, that is obj4. Obj4 is the object, and now obj2 is also referring to obj4. Okay, that is the meaning of reference. So now using obj2, you can call the methods like disp. Similarly for obj5, what I'll do, using my object of the interface obj2, I'll refer it, or I'll point it towards the object of the class, that is obj5, by writing like this, obj2 equal to obj5, and then I will write obj2.disp. So all these are the three ways. One is what, directly create the object of the class. Another is create reference of the class of the interface, and object creation is from the class. Another way is when you have multiple objects, create the reference and keep referring it to the different objects of the class. Are these three ways clear? Anything to repeat? Yes.
No.
What about others?
Yes, clear.
Okay. Now I'll also run this program. So each time I'm going to do the same thing. What? I'm going to call the disp method. So I should get 4. Means whenever I'm trying to call the method, I should get 4 as the output, because that is the job of the disp function. As you can see, no errors, and 4 times I've called the disp method, and all the 4 times I'm going to get the output as 4, because that is the value of a. Okay, now, so I'll tell you some advantages of interface. Before that, you tell me, multiple inheritance, is it possible with classes in Java?
No.
No. But to make it possible, you will use interface. Okay, so that is one advantage of interface. Another advantage is the relationship between the objects or the classes or the interface that becomes loosely coupled. Loosely coupled means it is not completely dependent on each other. Okay, the child is sort of dependent only for the abstract methods. It is not dependent completely. So it is loose coupling and um, multiple inheritance, loose coupling, and it gives you more flexibility because of multiple inheritance facility. Okay, now see this. You have one interface called as A1, which will print A1, and you have another interface B1, which will print B1 using the show method. Show method is there in A1 interface as well as in the B1 interface. Now a class can implement more than one interface. And how? Using implements keyword and comma separated list of all the interface names. Comma separated list means the interface, comma, next interface, comma, next interface. Here there are two interfaces. It is going to be a child of both of them. Means how it is going to look like? It is going to look like this. Interface 1 and interface 2. And from both, we are going to derive the class. Suppose I replace this I2 by another class, and I replace this I1 by another class, and this third class child is going to inherit from both the top classes. Is it possible in Java?
No.
No,
No.
because this itself is the meaning of multiple inheritance. Okay, so but if it is interface, both top, left, right, over here both are interfaces, then it was possible. Now I have another class which is going to create an object of the name of the class. The name of the class is something like this, default methods interface. And I'll create an object. I can create an object of this class, yes or no? This class. Can I create an object of this class?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I can create. Because it is neither an abstract class, nor does it have any abstract method. And it is also not uh, written abstract over here. I have not written abstract here. And the major thing is you cannot see any error over here. Otherwise, you see some red lines here, there. There's no error. I have created the object successfully. And I'm calling the show method. Now, this is a case of multiple inheritance. Do you agree with me? Is this a case of multiple inheritance using interface? Is this an example?
Yes.
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 Yes. So the main drawback of using classes as the parent instead of interface was if you have the same method show in class A1 and class B1, then which method will be called from the child? Whether the show method of A1 class or the show method of B1 class. But now there is no ambiguity over here. Okay, just a minute. Inside these interfaces, I'm writing the abstract method show. Here also show is there, in B1 also show is there. Now using my child, if I try to call the show method, now see here inside the child also there is a show method which is going to print the name of this class. So, and this is inheritance. Okay, the parents have the show as well as the child has the show method. So when I call the show method using an object of the child, which show method will get called? Any idea? Is it the show of the interfaces or is it the show of the child?
Child.
Child, because it is overriding concept. Whatever is the last class in the descendants, the last child, his method definition will only get called if the method names are same above. Okay, so the show method will print this one. But what if I do not have the show method over here? First of all, it is not possible. You have to have the show method over here because the show methods in the interface are abstract. They have to be implemented in the child. Okay, so this is actually one way by which we are dealing with that concept, where if the show method is there in both the parents, then it will create confusion which one to call. But here, the show method cannot be defined inside the parents. So the show over here and the show over here, both are, there is no confusion. It is show only, same method. But there is only a single definition existing for that show. Which is that definition? This one. There is no other definition for show. So there is no ambiguity at all that which show method to be called. Is it clear how interface is helping us to solve that problem? Is it clear?
Yes.
What about other students?
Yes.
Okay. So let me know if anyone wants me to repeat. Okay, no problem. Okay, so when I run this program, this one will get printed. Now you might have seen that I made some changes over here. Okay, now suppose I remove those, I bring it to the previous state. You can see here I've written default void show, and here also default void show. Now remember one more point, from Java edition 8, the Java version 8 onwards, it will allow you to define the methods inside the interface. But there is a condition that those methods which you define have to be default access specified. For example, here you have to write default. If I remove the default, the compiler will insert over here abstract public. But you're defining it here, so it is showing you the error. If you write default keyword over here, the error is gone. Now this default means that throughout this package means nothing but a folder. Inside a folder, you can have multiple files. Okay. Inside that particular folder, which is called as package, in that you have multiple files. In one particular file, you have defined the method show. That method show can be accessed by all the files, or that particular method show can be accessed inside all the files, right? What I mean to say, if you have a particular package means nothing but the folder. For example, have the company folder, inside that multiple files. Inside this particular file, chapter 3 practice set, if I write the method show, this show method can be called from a particular class, and that class can be in any of these files. Means indirectly from any of the file, you can access that show method, which is defined inside only one file, provided all these files are in the same folder. Folder is nothing but package in Java. Is it clear what is the use of default? Yes?
Yes.
So you can define the method, which has to be default. Now, if you're writing default, your compiler will not put abstract public over there. Okay. Now, here also have the default show. Now, this is not an abstract method. This is a normal method. So, is it compulsory for me to define it over here in my child? Yes or no? Is it compulsory to define?
No.
No. Why is no? You're right.
Not abstract.
Not abstract. Okay. Yeah. So suppose okay, see, for now I have defined it over here, show method. So we know that the child will always override the parent. That means though the show method may be here also, the which show method will be called using the object, only this show method of the child. Suppose I do not define the show over here. Can you tell me, just guess and tell me if you have understood the concepts? There is default method inside, means there is a method defined in the B class, and there is the same method defined inside the A class. Both are parents for the same child. Inside the child, I'm not going to define that show method. using an object of my child, I'm going to call show method. Okay, this public void show inside the child class, I'm not going to define it. And I'm still going to call the show method using an object. So will I get any error or will I not get an error? Just guess and tell me. We are going towards the same problem that we just now solved. If I remove the show definition. Yes?
No error.
No errors. You will get an error. Because I just now said that you are going towards the same problem which you had solved. What was the problem we solved? If the parents have the same method, show, then which show I have to call? Isn't it a confusion for the child? Yes?
Hmm.
It is a
Yes.
confusion for the child. So that is why I was saying that if you were paying attention, you would have known the concept. Anyways, no problem. So, so there's a confusion over here. That is why if the child has the show method, there will be no confusion. Why? Because always the child class ka version will be called. Okay. Now you may be thinking that if I want to call the parents version of show, have we seen any possible way till now how to call the parents version from the child? Have we seen that anywhere? Using a particular keyword which starts with the letter S. Which is that keyword? Any guesses? Do you remember the super keyword?
Yes.
Yes. So using super keyword, we can access the parents variable. If the same variable A is in the parent as well as child, if I want to access the A of the parent, then I'll write super dot A. Or if the methods are same, then I'll write super dot call the method. Constructors also I can call using super. So same way, I may want to call from my show method of the child. Okay, inside the child, I have the show method now. But from there, I want to call the show of the parent. So I will write super dot show. But as you can see, and as expected, you'll get an error because which show, which interface are you referring to? The A1 interface or you're referring to the B1 interface? There's again a confusion because which show of the parent, which interface? So to handle that, you must write the name of the interface dot super dot method name. So here again, we have tackled that same problem in another way. One way was we'll define the show method inside the child. Another way is if we want the parent show method only, though the parent show method, okay, which parent, that is the problem that we solved just now. How? By writing the name of the interface. Means what? The interface show, I mean the show method of the A1 interface I want to call, then I will write the name of the interface A1 dot super dot the show method. So first of all, when I execute this line, it will display A1 and then this line will get executed. Is it clear?
Yes.
What
Yes.
about others? Some more
Yes.
responses? It's a very
Yes, sir.
important concept, okay? So don't neglect it. Many real-time applications are possible here. Okay. Any doubts you can ask me now for this particular topic, then we'll continue further. Any particular case which you think I have not yet covered about the interfaces and inheritance, you can let me know. Any doubts? So I'm assuming that there are no doubts. Now there's another case. I'll just open that. So another case is that if you want, you can at the same time make the parent as a class as well as the parent as an interface. So I'm just finding that example. Okay, I'll draw the example and show you. So you have a particular child class. Now it can have a parent, which may be another class. This is a child class. Its parent can be another class, and its parent can be another interface also. And not necessarily only one interface parent. You can have multiple interfaces, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is possible, that parent can be one class. You cannot have more than one class parents. Only one class can be a parent. You cannot have two classes as the parent, otherwise it will become multiple inheritance. But you can have multiple interfaces as the parent. And minimum, if you want to consider, then one class and one interface can be a parent. Only one class can be a parent, only one interface can be a parent, and minimum one class and one interface, and maximum one class and n number of interfaces. Is it clear what I said? Yes.
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 Yes. So, but there's again one problem here, that if you have a default method in your interface like show, and inside the class also you have a show, then that time it will give you a problem. So that you have to tackle. You have to be careful that there are no common methods between the class parent and the interface parent. And if you have show over here in the parent, in the interface also you have show, and in the class also you have child class also you have show, then always the show of the child will be called. And if you want to call the parent, then use the super keyword. Okay, so those were some other things. Now interfaces, between interfaces also you can have inheritance. For example, these are three possible cases. One class can have a child as a class, and then you can have one interface as a parent for another interface. Okay, means you can have parent class, child class, pair. You can have interface and interface as parent and child, and you can have interface and class as parent and child. You cannot have a class and you cannot have a class as a parent and an interface as a child. This is not possible. Interface will always be a parent. Means, okay, I'll write it clearly. You can have interface as a parent and interface as a child, but you cannot have class as a parent and interface as a child. You can have interface. If you have interface as parent and class as child, it is possible. You can have class as parent and class as child, it is possible. Now only one combination is left, that is class as parent and interface as child. This last thing, this combination is not possible. Always, if you are having interface and class, interface will be the parent and class will be the child. Is it clear? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And whenever interface between two interfaces, if you are having the inheritance, then always use the extends keyword. So this is my child interface, this one. So here I'll write extends, whatever is the name of the parent interface. Extends keyword will come if there is inheritance between interfaces. But if a class is the child and interface is the parent, then what keyword I'll use here for the class? Will I use implements or will I use extends? For case
Implement.
number 2, implements, correct, very good. Class will always implement the interface, the parent interface. If I have class and class, Which keyword I'll use? Extends or implements?
Extends.
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 Yes. And the last case is not possible at all. Okay. So that's what is written over here also. Class extends, interface implements, interface extends. Only these combinations are allowed. And you cannot create object of interface. Now interfaces, usually you keep them as public. Means you usually write public interface and then the name of the interface, suppose I1, and then you write something inside. Usually we keep it as public because our main aim is to override that interface. So, but if you want to reduce the scope, then what you'll do, you will create an interface inside a class. Means you will have a class at the outside, then you'll put your curly brackets, and inside this class, you will define that interface. So whatever access is given to this class, only if the class is accessible, the interface which is inside the class will be acceptable. Okay, will be accessible. Now, polymorphism. Now, there's only something that I have to talk about it because we've already done the programming unknowingly. See, polymorphism are usually of two types. One is, do you know what are the types of polymorphism?
Runtime and compile time.
Yes, very good. Poly means many, and morphism means forms. Forms means the different types in which it is existing. So compile time, short form CT, runtime, short form RT. Now in C++, which are the types of compile time polymorphism? Anyone knows?
Method overloading and
Yes, yes, and one more.
overriding.
No, overriding comes in runtime polymorphism. Overriding is you can say it is same runtime polymorphism and method overriding. They are actually the same thing only. Okay, that will come.
Operator.
Yes, operator overloading is coming as the second type in compile time. So in compile time, you will have, as you said, operator overloading and function overloading. Function overloading is nothing but method overloading, which we have seen. The parameters can be different according to the what we are passing, how many we are passing. It will select the appropriate definition. And operator overloading, best example is plus operator, which is happening automatically inside Java, C++. You can use plus for strings for concatenation, plus for integers or numeric data types for addition. Automatically that polymorphism is happening. You have not told that it should happen like this. But in C++, you can tell that let the minus operator act as addition and let it act as substring removal also. Means just I'm giving an example. You can define how the minus operator should work. You can overload it. But in Java, you cannot do that for operators. Only for methods, you can do that. Okay, remember this point. It can be asked in interviews. Now, so method overloading, we have already seen. Operator overloading is not possible. I have given you the automatic overloading of plus operator example. And runtime polymorphism is always the overriding concept. Overriding means what? You have two classes, or maybe class interface, or maybe interface. That time, whatever is the child method, if it is common between parent and child, then the child version gets executed. If you want to access the parent version, use super keyword. That is only overriding, and that is runtime polymorphism. Runtime polymorphism means exactly same methods exist. Means I'm talking about the header. Whatever is defined inside, that is not of our concern. How the header is, the signature, the prototype, that should be exactly same. Then it is overriding, which is nothing but runtime polymorphism. So this was polymorphism, which indirectly we have already covered. So is there a need to cover? No. So now the very next important topic is multi-threading. So we'll just have an introduction maybe. So does anyone know already what is multi-threading, or maybe not related to Java, or what do you understand by this? If you know, you can tell us. Okay, so
Hello, like when we were studying the concepts of string in that builder buffer thing which we were studying, there you were talking about that threading part.
yes, exactly. Yeah, so that we came across that concept, but I think till now you don't know what is actually multi-threading. Anyways, so uh, consider a process. Now, there's a difference between program and process. Program is what you can see in my IDE, or I can open it with Notepad also, not necessary IDE. So this is a program. It is not yet running. If the program is running, if it is in the running state, if it is in the execution state, execution phase, means when I click the run button, when I click the run button, the program becomes a process. So what is process? A process is a program in the execution phase. Okay. So process is nothing but a running program, means which is running currently. It should not be that you have just written the program. It should be running, that it should be in the execution phase, then it becomes a process. There can be multiple processes, not necessary Java process, means Java program which is running becomes a Java process. So not necessary it will be only a Java process. A process can be anything that you're doing on your machine. For example, you're opening your web browser and you're seeing your Gmail account, suppose, or you're finding some information on the internet, you're Googling out something. Okay, so that can also be a process. You're opening VLC media player to see some movie or something like that. That is also a process. You are opening dev C++ to run C++ programs. That is a process. You're using GitHub desktop. That is a process. Then you're opening your PDF, your word processor, your PowerPoint presentation. You're writing something in the presentation. Anything that you do is a process. So all these processes, they have to be synchronized, and there are different concepts like multitasking, multiprocessing, multi-programming, multi-threading, multiprocessor. All these multi things means multi, if I say, it means that more than one. And doing more than one thing at a time, that is, it has to be handled very well. For example, at the same time you're attending online lectures and at the same time you're completing your assignments. That is what I've seen with other students and my classmates. When online lectures are going on and they're doing something else, so they're doing multiple tasks at the same time. So this is a real-time example. Similarly, doing more than one thing at the same time has to be done very carefully by the computer also. Otherwise, maybe you're seeing a movie and you're only hearing the sound, the pictures are not moving, there's no animation in the video clip. And because maybe you're downloading something side by side, that means your multiple processes are not able to work in synchronization. So this should not happen. Okay, this was process level, means two or more processes, two or more tasks, they should be synchronized, they should go properly, they should work together simultaneously. Okay, now I won't go into the depth of how it happens and all, okay, because it will be too time consuming. Now if you consider a process, a single process, for example, I open my word, uh, Microsoft Word, and I'm writing something inside this. I'm only working on this document, I'm not doing anything else. Then it is a single process, that means that I want my computer to do for me. That is a single process that I want the computer to do. Now suppose if I say that if I want to carry out the functioning, or the if I want to do it smoothly, if I want to work on the single process smoothly, then I have to divide this process into smaller processes. For example, in this word processor, there is a facility to type. That typing facility is a one process. There is another facility to paste some images over here. That can be another process, minor processes, sub processes. The child, you can say child processes, or the minor processes, smaller processes within the bigger process. What is your bigger process or your actual process? Using the Microsoft Word. And smaller processes in that may be whatever tasks you can perform inside the Word file. Okay, for example, you you can highlight this, that is another process. So if you go to see, there are so many processes over here that you can see. You can change the case, you can change the font style, font size, so many things. They are the facilities actually. Okay, so in programs, how can I implement this? That is our main concern, because we want our process also to happen properly. If you want to understand it better, I will say that if you open your media player, So here, there are so many processes. For example, you can increase or decrease the volume. You can see the timer over here. Actually, I'm not able to find a video over here. Otherwise, I would have played it and shown you. Just a minute. So this is a process that is happening. VLC player is running. Now inside this process, you can see the timer is increasing. This is the progress bar, which I can increase or decrease. Then the volume you can increase or decrease. You can pause it, play it. So suppose, for example, if I don't implement multi-threading means what? All these processes should happen almost simultaneously. For example, if I don't say simultaneously means what? First of all, the timer will go from 0 to 100, suppose. After the timer reaches the level 100, then the audio will start playing. After the complete audio of the video, only the audio is played completely, then the video will be visible. After that, after the whole video is visible, then I am able to pause and play. If I don't implement multi-threading, then all these minor processes will not happen simultaneously. If I implement multi-threading, then what is possible? Audio will also play. At the same time, video will also play. At the same time, I can increase or decrease the time limit. At the same time, I can increase, decrease volume. If I don't implement multi-threading, then these minor processes will happen only one after the other. They will not happen simultaneously. Are you getting it, what I'm saying? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the example. If you don't implement multi-threading, then no application is actually possible in the today's era. Okay. Now, if I give an example of a program, how you'll implement multi-threading in a program. Okay, so suppose you want to calculate the area of a rectangle. Okay, just an example. Okay, not necessary for this program you need multi-threading. Okay, but for example, what are the steps to calculate area? First of all, I have to enter the dimensions, length and breadth. That is one minor process. Minor process is nothing but it is called as a thread. So a thread is a lightweight process, and a process is nothing but a heavyweight task. Okay, thread means a lightweight process, a minor sub process. So in calculating area, one thread will be, one sub process will be what? Enter the dimensions, length and breadth. Next thread will be calculate the area equal to length into breadth. Next thread can be display the area, system.out.println, write the area variable name. Okay, so this is an example of different processes inside a major process. Which is your major process? Calculating area. How you will do it? By executing threads inside the process. So collection of threads will give you a process. Another example, complex example, bank management system. It is not that always you want to deposit money. After depositing all the money, you want to withdraw the money. No, you will deposit some money, you will withdraw some money, again you will deposit some money, again you will withdraw. Then in between you'll check the balance. If I don't implement multi-threading, can you guess what will happen? First of all, I have to deposit all the money. Then I can withdraw all the money. Only after depositing, I can withdraw. Only after withdrawing, I can check the balance. Only after checking the balance, I can foreign exchange. But that is not the reason. That is not how it should be. I must be able to do maybe a little bit of depositing, after that little bit of withdrawing, then maybe suddenly I want to check the balance. It should happen at any time. Simultaneously, it should be capable and compatible. So are you getting what is multi-threading actually and why it is necessary?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so in programming, if you have so many tasks, and suppose task number 1 or maybe thread number 1 is taking suppose 100 seconds, thread number 2 is taking 200 seconds, but I want everything to happen almost simultaneously. So what will happen? If the thread 1 wants to print hello 100 times, then what will happen? Thread 1 will print hello 50 times. Then thread 2 will print good morning 30 times. Then again we'll go back to thread 1, print hello for 20 times. So we are going to switch between the threads so that almost at the same time, okay, switching happens so fast that you may think that the threads are executing simultaneously. So this is not actually, when you say multitasking, it doesn't mean that you're going to do everything at the same time. On your CPU, on your processor, however strong or powerful it is, even if it is a supercomputer, only one process you can do at a time. Then how are we able to work on Word, PPT, open the browser at the same time? This is because for a particular time period, it will do the browsing, then immediately it will switch to your Word, then immediately it will switch to PPT, then again it will go back to Word, depending on the priority of the process. You might have seen that sometimes on your Android phone, if your WhatsApp is open in the background, you're seeing YouTube currently, and after 5 hours, if you go to access the WhatsApp, then WhatsApp is not actually at the place where you had left it. Suppose I open Prahlad's chat and I keep it open. After 5 hours, if I go, it is not always necessary that I'll open at his chat window only. WhatsApp will open from the beginning. I will observe that not only for WhatsApp, for any chat, for any application on your mobile, it will not remain open at that point if you open it after 5 hours, 10 hours. Have you observed that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that is because
Yes.
priority, or you can say that if you keep that process open and you're not using it, it is a waste of the resources. Those same resources, that same CPU can be given to some other process when you're not using the background processes. So that is another way of simultaneously working on multiple processes. Okay, same is for websites also. Usually websites, it doesn't happen that it goes off suddenly, but it happens in some cases. So there are two ways to do this in Java. One is using thread class and one is using runnable interface. These are the two ways you can implement multi-threading. Okay, you have to create your own class in which you will define what I have to do. Inside your class, you will define what you have to do. And that class which you have defined will be a child of a thread class. Thread class is a already defined class by the developer. You have to simply make its child as, and who will be the child? The class which you define. So your child, the class will be a child and the thread class will be the parent. Similarly, an interface also can be a parent. So runnable interface is an interface already defined and you have to create its child. Who will be the child? The class which you create. So the the class that you create will be a child of either the thread class or it will be a child of the runnable interface. And you know that the child can access the properties of the parent. So the parent is what? It is a parent who can give you the property or the ability to perform multi-threading. So that the how to do multi-threading, that is not what we have to do. We have to only implement the multi-threading. How to do the multi-threading, that the system will take care. Java compiler interpreter system will take care. But if you want to use that in your program, you have to simply create a child class and you can use those properties. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So I think we'll see those programs next time because it's already 7. Ask me any doubts. And if you want any detailed explanation on these topics or anything, you let me know, because whatever is important for Java I'm taking. But if you want other topics, you can let me know. Like, okay. And if you have any doubts, you can ask me. Because I cannot cover operating system over here, right? Otherwise, it will become too time consuming. And once you put your attendance, you can leave. Thank you.